How can you possibly tell our fellow citizens that there's no criminal wrongdoing if you don't even know what statutes to look at?
Because I've seen no evidence that anyone consciously...
Well, how would you know what elements of the crime existed? You don't even know what statutes are at play.
Republican Trey Gowdy gets it, and so do a majority of Americans. 76% now believe IRS emails that showed the agency targeted conservatives were deliberately destroyed. But check this out. The mainstream media is ignoring the story. ABC, CBS, and NBC spending a little over 3 minutes in the first full week on the IRS lost email story, but yet they spent almost 2 hours in the first 4.5 days of the Chris Christie Bridgegate scandal. Michelle, it seems like week after week we talk about the lapdog media ignoring Obama's scandals. Why does this matter?
Well, look, this is a criminal activity. I mean, all of these emails have suddenly disappeared, and then 6 people who are intimately involved in this, their emails have suddenly disappeared. I mean, they're lying like they're a bunch of third graders. President Obama is literally the president that Richard Nixon wished he was, because no one's paying attention. No one is listening to this. The only people who are covering this is Fox. We have agencies right now in the government that are now being controlled by partisan politics. That is very, very dangerous.
Ashley, and I'm very concerned about the way the mainstream media is treating the scandal after scandal. As we pointed out, 3 minutes or so on the IRS scandal in the mainstream media, yet almost 2 hours when Chris Christie's Bridgegate scandal popped up. That's important because that shows media bias, blatant, absolutely blatant. You can read it on the front page if it were on the front page.
I think it's very important, Eric, and I'm glad that you're pointing this out on this show, because the liberal and mainstream media at this point are only giving credibility to stories that they don't want to do damage to the White House because they're untouchable for some reason. So the IRS scandal, the VA scandal, that does damage because people in his cabinet and in his administration are failing to do their jobs, and these scandals are outraging Americans. When you say a poll is showing that 76% of American citizens think that these emails were deliberately lost, that shows a complete lack of trust in federal government and federal agencies, which shows that this administration has a problem in communicating with the average citizen. So, you know, congratulations to Fox News for covering these things so that way they can be exposed to the American public, which is what the mainstream media is supposed to be doing.
Ron, you're a print guy. You've been around the block. You know these things. Let me just read this. New York Times, Washington Post, and LA Times combined in print. When it came to the Bridgegate scandal, there were 56 print stories. When it came to the IRS, 3 stories. When it came to the VA scandal, 2 print stories. Now, Juan, there it is in plain print. 56 versus
Eric,
3 and 2.
Eric,
what's wrong with this?
You're comparing apples and oranges.
Why?
Remember, we've been down this road before. We've been down this road before.
Well, if there's one that targets a conservative, I got 56 stories in print by the media, the print media, and when it targets the White House, there's 2.
Eric, why don't you go back to when the IRS scandal broke? Why don't you go back to the first set? No, you go back to the set of hearings held by Republicans in Congress.
No.
I'm talking about
in the first few days after these stories broke, Juan. I'm not apples and oranges. These are apples and apples.
There's no news here. And remember, that's what you do in news business.
There's no news. The emails are gone, Juan. They just disappeared.
Jonathan, let me go to you. The news here is if we don't have a media that keeps tabs on what's going on in the White House, what do we have?
Well, we have a subservient media, Eric. I think we have a subservient culture by and large. I think people aren't so outraged about the IRS scandal because they believe, even unfortunately many conservatives, that, hey, it is the government's money and how they distribute it. Sometimes there's some casualties along the way, but you don't actually own your life. I have to say, I think both the IRS scandal and the Bridgegate scandal are horrific abuses of power. And when government uses its guns, not against criminals, but against innocent American citizens, that is monstrous. But people are lapdogs. The American people are lapdogs now, and the media reflects that.
And take a look at this, guys. Here, pull up the full screen, the accountability. American people want accountability. In fact, 74% of them say we want to continue looking into the scandals until someone is held accountable. Michelle, 74% would agree with that. Do you?
You know, this president promised to usher in this new era of transparency. Where is the transparency? I mean, Juan, how are you not outraged by this? This is a government agency that's targeting people because of their political beliefs, and then they just act as if their emails disappeared. You don't think that's suspicious?
I think you guys are loving this paranoia conspiracy.
Answer the paranoia.
Hats. Let me just say this to you. It's easy to hate on the tax man. Nobody likes the IRS.
You don't think it's suspicious that their emails just disappeared? Their hard drives just disappeared.
Hold on. If you've got no evidence, you know what? You shouldn't think that it's news.
Here's the issue, Juan, and I really agree with the panel here. Is it's not even the question what happened with the emails. It's for me, it's why isn't the media looking? Why are Democrats, why are lefties saying, oh, there's nothing to see here? Of course there's something to see here. You don't want the IRS to be a biased agency. You absolutely did. That would be the worst of all worlds.
Yeah, but you don't also want people indicting folks when there's no evidence, no wrongdoing yet proven. As the president said, not a smidgen, not even a smidgen.
Again, we ran out of time. We have a big
Juan is drinking the Kool-Aid.
Juan loves Kool-Aid.
Oh, stop.
You know, libertarians love Kool-Aid. Coming up, Iraq.